All right, welcome everyone. We are giving a little Race Week webinar on the Bank of America Chicago Marathon. Everyone is in listen-only mode, but if you have questions, you can ask them online through the meeting. And we'll try to answer those as we go through the presentation and then also at the very end of the presentation as well. But this is Coach Chris, by the way. Here to basically just walk you guys through everything and anything related to the race and race week. So we're just going to jump right in and give you guys some good pointers here. The first thing, though, I wanted to mention is that everyone is basically already completed the journey. You know, race day is really just a giant victory lap. You guys are all superheroes for having completed the training at this point. So trust in the fact that you are ready. No matter what, and it's going to be an awesome day, and you guys are going to be treated like superheroes too, with a lot of our race day support for you and cheering squad. So we hope you guys are as excited as we are for this race weekend. So, all right, the coaches, in case you guys aren't familiar, here are a few of our coaches who you will probably be seeing out on the race course, either running with you, cheering you on, or offering some support, or meeting and greeting you guys at the start and finish. You've got Coach Kinyer and Coach Jennifer at the top, Coach Joy in the middle, Coach Johan, Coach John Stender, I believe. Sorry, my screen's a little covered up there. Yep, Coach John. And then the bottom row, it's Coach Allen on the bottom left, Coach Jillian, Coach Carol, who you'll see up at the cheering squad at mile 7.5. And then myself, Coach Chris, and Coach Shelley. There'll be a few others out there as well who you will see along the way, but those are the very recognizable faces out there. So marathon, little information about it. Chicago Marathon is one of the world's largest marathons. It's part of the World Marathon Majors. There's over 45,000 runners, and about a third of those are actually first-time marathoners. So if you're a first-timer, you're definitely not in the minority. You're in a very, very large group. So it's a very, very awesome first marathon experience. Has one of the largest spectating crowds of any marathon in the world. It raises over $15 million for charity every year. The things to note about it in terms of start time is there are now 3 waves. So wave 1 goes at 7:30 in the morning, wave 2 at 8 a.m., wave 3 at 8:35 a.m. So if you haven't looked over your race confirmation yet, make sure you know which wave you are in. That's probably one of the most important things for race morning to be aware of. The expo is down at McCormick Place, as always. So make sure you do have to pick up your packet. You can't have anybody else pick up your packet. So you have to make sure you get down there on Friday or Saturday before race day. Another important thing to note is the time limit. People always ask about that. It's based off of the last person crossing the start line, and they aim for about a 15-minute per mile pace is what is required before they have to open the city streets to car traffic again. So that puts you at a goal time of about a 6:30, 6-hour, 30-minute marathon finish time. But folks can still go beyond that. All they really do is they force you to move onto the sidewalks as they open up the course again. But we will be out there from start to finish with our coaches and our support. So even if you're out there late for whatever reason, we will be there for you, so don't worry about that. It's also a big race. You know, registration is going to open up again for next year right away pretty much. So definitely make sure you sign up with a charity partner to get a guaranteed entry. I know they had over 70,000 applicants. I think that was maybe a stat from 2 years ago. These numbers keep going up. An interesting stat, too, is only 8% of marathon runners can actually run what we call a negative split, running the second half faster than the first half. That's always an interesting challenge for people to attempt because a marathon is a very, very interesting challenge that will wear you down the late stages. So the key is pacing it right. And for those local to Chicago, know our local celebrity who's now not local anymore, but Oprah Winfrey, she did the marathon in about 4.5 hours. So if you want to beat that Oprah line, we call it, that's your goal time there is 4:29:15. All right. So the race course, pretty awesome. It goes through all of Chicago pretty much. 29 different neighborhoods. You have nearly 2 million spectators out there. Unbelievable how many spectators come out to cheer you on every mile of course. There's clocks every mile, every 5K. There's 20 aid stations that are each about 2 city blocks long. They have medic tents at all of them. They have unbelievable, compared to most marathons, unbelievable spectator and aid station support. Some of the new things, we always encourage you to look through the athlete guide and become familiar with the nutrition that they're going to have on course. Typically, it's just water and Gatorade through the first half of the course, and then right about the halfway point or just before, they will have Gatorade to choose in the downtown area as you come across the Chicago River. And then as you head west and you start completing the west part of the course, they're going to have Gatorade gels at mile 17.8. And that's actually new. It used to be power bars, power gels. So it's good to become familiar with that if you are not. And then also there will be bananas at the very late stages of the course. So from mile 20 on, they'll have some additional aid, some bananas basically at the last, I think, 4 or 5 aid stations from around mile 20 to 23. So a couple of tips for race week here. So as we're heading into race day, make sure you are getting good sleep. I know a lot of people get nervous, a lot of people travel, got a lot going on. So try to schedule going to bed early. Also make sure you're hydrating a lot. If you're moving around, if you're traveling, if you're walking the expo floor, you've got a lot going on in race week. Just make sure you're hydrating, especially from about 2 to 3 days out. Make sure you eat smart. You don't need to get crazy. You know, people always talk about carbo loading. Don't overdo it. You just want to get a little bit more carbohydrate and a little bit less fiber. So you just want to make sure that you're fueling properly. Also, lay out your gear. Know exactly what you're going to wear on race day. Have that laid out ahead of time. Don't have to worry about that the night before. Try to do that at least 2 or 3 nights before. Try to go to the expo early as well. There's always a lot of traffic. You know, logistics of just getting down there, getting through the expo can make for a long day. So if you can get there on Friday, that's best. So that Saturday you can just put your feet up. But if you are going on Saturday, just try to schedule time on Saturday at some point, especially after the expo, to just lay down and put your legs up. Make sure your feet aren't swelling up a lot. And smile, have fun, get excited, post on Facebook, you know, get other people excited, tell people about your bib numbers and all that. Because this is really just a giant celebration. It's one huge party with, you know, over 2 million people basically. And with that, you know, any friends and family you have that are going to be out there, make sure they have a plan too. Tell them to download the app so they can track you. Try to coordinate with them on where they might be so you can look for them. It's very hard sometimes for spectators to see you, but it's also hard for you to see spectators. So try to figure out what side of the street they're going to be at or what mile marker, and that'll make for a fun experience overall. So those are just a couple of quick race week tips. As you go to the expo, we've got a map here of the expo floor. You can kind of see the big main Nike booth in the middle there, and then we've highlighted for Team Ben Aids here our booth over on the side. So just make a note of where that is, and definitely come and stop by. We'll have our coaches there, we'll have a T2 staff there. We can answer any questions you have, we'll have various tips. So if you need anything, just know that we can stop by the expo, and that is where you'll find us at booth number 140. And the expo is open from 9 a.m. until 8 p.m. on Friday, but it closes a little earlier on Saturday, so it's 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So just make sure you plan plenty of time to get down there. So at the expo, a couple important things. You do need to have your own photo ID. You cannot pick up a packet for somebody else, and you need your confirmation ticket. These were mailed out in the mail. You can also get it from your email. Just check over, make sure you have that with you. It makes the process of picking up your packet a lot quicker and easier. Try to make sure you stop by the T2 booth and say hello. Make sure that we have your bib number and your emergency contact info. Just in case if you're leaving gear with us, if you forget something, we can get a hold of somebody when you're out on the course if need be. And also so we can track you. We try to put a little spreadsheet together, so if you haven't seen this link here, the tiny URL link, you can click on that. It's just a giant spreadsheet to help us track you. We can also see who else is in your waves. So on race morning, you'll know who your fellow teammates are who'll be in the same corrals. So make sure you stop by at the booth or just enter that in the spreadsheet as well. If for whatever reason you haven't been able to complete your fundraising yet, note that you might get a little card instead of a packet, instead of a race bib when you go to the expo. So if you get that, just bring it over to us, bring it over to the T2 booth. You just have to kind of sign an agreement, obviously, to make sure you meet the fundraising minimum. Chicago Marathon is very, very strict about that stuff. But if you have any questions, reach out and we can make sure that you're taken care of very quickly and easily. All right, so race day, Chicago Marathon. That's the beautiful start line of the Chicago Marathon. It is a huge, huge start, an epic, epic little experience to go through for sure. And a couple things to note. The weather. Everyone always wonders what the weather is going to look like. I think right now the forecast keeps changing from day to day, but looks like it'll probably be warming up into the 70s, so not unreasonably hot, but it'll definitely get warm. The range of weather over the years has changed a lot, anywhere from 30 degrees up to 90 degrees we've had. Usually it's around the 50s, 46 to 64 I think is that typical range that we have. But be prepared for anything. Plan for worst case scenario of it getting hot into the 80s or it raining potentially, and think about what clothing or what type of gear you may want to have or need to have as a result. If it's going to be a wet race, you might want to plan to have more Body Glide or Vaseline, like things to avoid chafing. If it's going to rain, you might want to have we use the garbage bag trick, wearing a garbage bag with a hole punched through the top as a poncho in the morning to stay dry, and then you can toss that to the side as you get going. But just be prepared for that. Check the morning temperature too. You're going to be heading down there potentially at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning when you're heading out the door or waking up. So it could be chilly in the morning, so plan for that. Also, with the temperature, pay attention to the wind, right? A lot of times the temperature seems reasonable, but the wind can affect things as well. So if it's low wind, it's definitely going to feel warmer. If it's high wind, it could get very cool. So just pay attention to that. We also recommend that you bring dry clothes or extra layers. You can leave gear with us. You can leave gear at the actual gear check at the race. One of my favorite things, though, is bring extra socks and an extra pair of shoes or flip-flops for after the race. Your feet are pretty beat up by the end of it. I also like to pack blister Band-Aids. So if you need those, any of the pharmacies like Walgreens, CVS usually has those. If you haven't ever used them, they are fantastic. They come in a little silver box. Just look for the Band-Aid brand in a little silver box. They're about you only got 8 of them in a box, but those things are life-saving sometimes. I usually run with 1 or 2 of them in my race belt, and I have them for after the race too, just in case I get blisters. So consider those things. Race morning, so we do recommend that you are going to have to wake up pretty early, depending on your wave and what time to get down for our team photo and to T2 HQ in the morning. So usually we recommend waking up around 4:30 in the morning, so make sure you get to bed early. Eat your breakfast, try to get in whatever you can. Plan and lay that out ahead of time. If you know you have a nervous stomach, maybe a liquid smoothie or meal replacement shake. And then around 5 a.m. you'll probably want to be leaving and heading out down to our meetup point, which is going to be around 5:30 in the morning is what we recommend to get down to our T2 HQ, which is at the Roosevelt Center Gymnasium at 501 South Wabash. We'll have gear check there. You can also obviously do gear check at the Chicago Marathon. So worst case, if you wake up late, maybe have a plan to bring the clear bag that they give you so that you could just rush to the race site and do your gear check there, just in case you're running late. It's always good to kind of plan as a just-in-case scenario for that. The reason we like to have our gear check at T2 HQ, though, is that when you get to the race site, you can just walk right in through the security gates. If you have big gear bags, they may have to check through your gear. So it's nice when you can just kind of go through the express lane, essentially. And then also think about having another snack or a little bit of hydration before the race, too. So around 5:45, we recommend that. Having a little bar, maybe a goo packet, banana, whatever you like to have. And then also plan when you're going to go to the bathroom. I usually go to the bathroom a couple times race morning. Might have a nervous stomach. One thing that I like to do is actually jog. So if I'm going to T2 HQ in the morning, if I'm taking the train, I'll try to jog from the train to T2HQ, and that'll just get my stomach jostling around a little bit, causing that runner's trots. I'm forcing you to kind of need to go to the bathroom a little quicker that way. It's nice to kind of get that done with early. So it's a neat little tip. And then plan for 6:30 a.m. for a team photo. So that's why we want you to get there early, get to T2HQ between 5:30 and 6. So you have time to get yourself settled in, and then we'll do team photos. And then we'll dress if we need to have maybe a disposable shirt or something to keep you warm in the morning. You can wear that or a garbage bag, and then we'll head over in waves at 6:37 and 7:35 will be the times that our waves leave. So here's kind of a map. You can kind of see where the Goodman Center is. It's part of Roosevelt University. It's their big gymnasium. It's going to be open just to us, just to our athletes on race morning, 5:30. We'll have that team photo, and then we'll have the waves heading over. So the coaches will be there to walk you guys over one by one. And then we'll open up later in the day for friends and family. So if you do have any friends and family that just want to come hang out, you know, if it's going to be rainy or something and they want somewhere to stay dry, they're welcome to come there. So as you guys are finishing, they can come and meet you there at the finish as well. We'll be closing that up around 4:30 p.m. So just make note of that. We've also listed some of the different ways that you can get there. It's basically near almost every form of public transportation downtown. So make a note of that. And there is an auditorium parking garage next to the Goodman Center as well on Congress. So Congress and Wabash is what you're looking for. Let's see, next slide. Also, so a couple things for spectators, so friends and family, these are some good links and resources to send them. I don't think they've updated the runner tracking page yet, but I put a link on there, which is where it's usually posted. But we have the athlete list, obviously, where we hope you put your bib number down, your expected finish time. That way we can help track you and help your friends and family know when to expect you at different points along the course, because it'll just auto-calculate all that for you. And then the RTRT.me, the real-time runner tracking, that's kind of built into the app and their website, but that's where they'll be able to track you with kind of an estimation on race day while you're running. We always recommend to smile for the photographers. There's a couple points along the course where we will have our own photographers looking for you guys if you're wearing the jerseys. So make note of that. Those of you who've run with us a few years, you make note that they pick some pretty cool spots with good landmarks. So like across from the Chicago Theater as you're running down State Street downtown, they can get some really cool photos. So try to make note of where they're going to be. We'll mention that at the team dinner and on race morning a little bit as well. Our main cheering spots this year are going to be two different spots. Mile 7.5 on the very north end of the course on Addison and Pine Grove near our FFC East Lakeview location. So if friends and family want to come there, they can use our gym up there, FFC. If they need to go to the restrooms or whatnot, we'll have big cheering squad there to kind of cheer you guys on as you hit the northern end of the course. And then at the pretty much just past the southern end of the course, as you're coming down the last 1.25 miles, we'll be at about mile 25, which will be off of the green line at Michigan and Cermak, so kind of near where McCormick Place is, where the Race Expo is. And that'll be kind of our final stretch cheering squad to cheer you guys in. There's also a spectator guide. There's a phone app. At the expo, they usually hand out a little foldable spectator guide. So take a look for those and have those for friends and family. There's also the American Red Cross has what they call their Patient Connect hotline. So for whatever reason, something happens to you, get some bad blisters, cramps, something happens where you have to go into a medical tent, it's good to let them know that that's kind of the emergency phone number that they can call to get an update on where you are. So big thing, and this is what makes the race a little bit logistically complicated, is that friends and family are not actually allowed in to the race site, especially in the morning. They can't come anywhere in at all. They stay outside in the perimeter. And then even after you finish, you have to kind of walk through a long finish chute and then come back out through the security gates before they can greet you. So it's important to maybe identify a place for your friends and family to meet you. They can either meet you right back at T2HQ, or the kind of quickest way out is at the Harrison gate. I think it's gate number 7 this year. And that's your first opportunity to leave on the left as you go through the kind of the long finish chute to get your post-race food. but it's well before the actual finish festival, what they call the 27th mile finish festival area. So this map kind of shows a little arrow where that gate is. So you might want to make note of that. They can meet you right as you come out of that gate at Harrison Street. That's kind of the earliest spot where they can catch you as you leave the race site. But you need to make sure to make notes to leave on the left-hand side as you come down the finish chute there. So they can't meet you around Buckingham Fountain. They can't meet you right after you cross the finish line. So just make note of that. Also, we do have our FFC South Loop location on State Street, just north of Michigan Avenue. So for whatever reason you're finishing really late, around the time that we're closing down T2 HQ, you can still go back to FFC South Loop. We actually have a small athlete village there as well, with food and drinks and all that good stuff, locker rooms, even showers. So both locations will have those nice amenities. But just make note that if you do finish late, we'll actually move any gear bags that are at the Goodman Center to FFC South Loop after about 4:30 p.m. Just so that we don't have to just take your stuff away. Obviously, we'll make sure to track you guys, and we'll have coaches out there giving updates. So we'll know exactly where you are all day long. And no worry, we'll greet you if you finish that late. So just be aware. So the athlete list is a big spreadsheet we put together. If you can, put your name in there, your bib number, start corral, so we know where you'll be starting, and that way we can estimate what time you'll be finishing. Very handy. You can share that with your friends and family too. Lets us know what time you'll be coming past the spectator spots, and it's just an overall kind of neat way to see who else might be in your start corral, so you can have a buddy, so you don't have to kind of go in all by yourself, all nervous. You can have a few friends to keep you company at the start. So use that spreadsheet. Here's also a good quick checklist. This is for little things you might want to consider packing, setting aside as you get ready for the race day. Your race bib, number one, do not forget that. Every year we tend to have one person who leaves their race bib at home and they're rushing back, or they get a family member to try and go and get it for them. So what I recommend is get your bib, put the safety pins on it as soon as you get your bib, and attach it to your shirt, put it in your bag, have it there right next to your nightstand, so when you wake up first thing in the morning, you grab it. So don't forget that. Make sure you have some type of hydration. If you have a race belt, maybe you have a race belt for your phone as well. Potentially you have your ID with you. So just think about any of those little things you might want. If you're going to go to the 27th mile post-race party, they have beer there, but you will need to show ID typically. So make a note, you may want to have your ID with you if you're going to that. Your running shoes, obviously, some good technical socks, maybe some dry socks for afterwards. Maybe an extra shirt to toss out. Have your team singlet as well. Obviously, you'll have your running shorts. Body glide is important, some type of lubrication to avoid chafing around your armpits, your feet, your toes, legs, heels, sports bra, nipples, anywhere and everywhere where you might have some chafing. Don't forget your heart rate monitor. I forgot mine recently at a big race, so make sure that heart rate monitor is right next to your race bib, so all those essentials are right there. Make sure your watch, if you have a Garmin watch, is fully charged up. So do that the night before or a couple days before. Make sure you have your sports nutrition both for the race and also for pre-race, anything you might want to have as you are heading to the start line. Any weather gear, so a windbreaker, an extra long sleeve shirt, maybe a layer you're going to toss, or that garbage bag trick. Also sun protection, sunglasses, sunscreen, visor, hat. Make sure you put all those items together so you're not kind of running around race morning looking for things. Have all that set aside ahead of time. Also look at your post-race clothes. Have a little gym bag, something you can leave with us or use the big security bag that they give you. If you plan to shower at T2HQ, make sure you bring a towel as well. The showers are available, but you will need to bring your own towel. Also, music and headphones are okay, but no selfie sticks or cameras. Every year we see a lot of people running with those, and they just become a big distraction and a little bit of a safety hazard as well. Make sure if you've got your music, though, that you charge whatever, if it's your phone or an MP3 player, that's charged up as well. Fueling tips, a couple quick tips. Pre-race, I like to do the 1, 2, 3 count, I call it. So 3 hours before the race, you can have about 300 calories, 2 hours before about 200 calories, 1 hour before about 100 calories. It's kind of like your final pre-race topping off. I try to limit solid food. I try to stick to more chews and goos and things like that that are easy and quick to digest. You don't get excessive though. You just need a little bit. You know, everything in moderation is the mantra you want to have. And then typically not much about 30 to 45 minutes before, other than maybe a goo packet if you wanted to have something to kind of top off there. During the race, just think about your plan. You know, there'll be aid stations roughly every 1 to 2 or 2.5 miles, I think, at the longest stretch. So make a note of where the aid stations are on race day. And especially if it's warm, think about just doing a little bit of everything in moderation. So a little bit of water, a little bit of Gatorade at each aid station is a great strategy. Think about when you might want to take in your goos, plan that ahead of time, maybe use landmarks or mile markers for that. If you have goos with caffeine, that's a nice thing to have late in the race when you might need a little bit of a boost. Also note that the bananas will be out there from mile 20 to 23.5, I think, those aid stations. And also think about after the race too. A lot of people just push themselves hard for the race and then they don't think about fueling properly afterwards and start feeling pretty miserable. So always think about rehydrating, getting some protein in, get a banana, get some solid food. They will also hand you, I call them space blankets, these Mylar blanket wraps as you finish. Great things to have whether it's cold or warm. As your body temperature drops and you're exhausted, your blood sugar is down, it's nice to have those to protect you from the sun, but also to keep you warm, in case it's rainy or wet. So grab those as they give them to you down the finish chute as part of your post-race refueling and replenishing plan. For hydration, think about running with that bottle or race belt you've been using in training. Think about bringing any electrolyte supplements, so salt pills, even if you haven't used them. Sometimes it's good to have a couple just as a worst case scenario if you get some bad cramping. Be aware that dehydration is a concern, but also what we call hyponatremia, low blood sodium, when you just drink water all day and you're not getting those electrolytes in. That's one of the reasons we usually recommend those salt pills. You can drink too much water if you just keep drinking water and nothing else. So think about everything in moderation. Have a little bit of Gatorade, have some electrolytes throughout the day, and you'll be perfectly fine. Hypernatremia might relate more to dehydration. That's the other condition. We usually just say, look at your pee. Look at the color of your urine. If you hop in a porta potty or an aid station, obviously you want to be closer to that 1, 2, 3 on the scale there, kind of very pale or light colored. You don't want to have dark urine. If you realize you haven't been going to the bathroom, that's probably a sign, especially after the race. You want to make sure you rehydrate enough to force yourself to go to the bathroom, make sure you're rehydrating properly. So keep that in the back of your mind. But the number one tip really is just pace smart. You've done the training, right? This is your victory lap. This is a time to have fun. Don't overdo it by going hard too early. Think about that first 5K is actually really crucial for you who aren't familiar with the Chicago Marathon course, because right as you start, you actually go uphill. Chicago's known as a flat course, but it actually starts with some good little hills right after you cross the start line. As you go up Columbus and then over the Chicago River, you go over it 3 times in the first 3 miles. So those bridges are actually a little bit hilly. You also lose GPS signals with the high rises and as you run a little bit underground, under underpasses. So don't rely necessarily on your GPS right off the bat. The first 5K, really, you're going to get some bogus readings on any type of GPS device. Also make note the bridges do have these metal gratings. They put carpets down, but if it's wet, you might want to be careful of those as well. So just play it smart. Start smart. This is the mantra you want to have. If you have a heart rate monitor, I always say focus on that percentage of max heart rate, that relative effort. You want to keep that around a 75 to 80% effort level, no more than that as you start. Think about using your breathing rate from those tips we had in training about breathing nice and deep, nice and slow, nice and long breaths, so you're not breathing too quick. Think about the running form tips, the high cadence. There's also the blue line. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that the week before the race. they paint this little blue line. It's really dark this year, so it might be hard to spot, but they map the shortest path of the entire marathon route from start to finish. It's mostly for the elite athletes to know where to go, but running with a tangent, as we say, is the shortest path, so from corner to corner. Also, if it's going to be hot, use the shade. A lot of people get really lightheaded and they don't pay attention. Be smart. Look at the course. Notice where there's shade. Run in the shade if it's a hot day out, or run in the sun if it's a cold day. Just follow your hydration strategy. Have fun. Smile for the photos. Look for the photographers, and you'll have a great day overall. And then your victory lap will be done, and you'll get to celebrate. It's a pretty awesome experience. With nearly 50,000 runners out there, 2 million spectators. This is really your victory lap. It's your celebration. It's your big party. You've done 99% of the miles you need to do the marathon and just your training miles. So this is really just that last little bit to celebrate with everybody else. So again, as you finish, I want to leave this here. This is the finishing map. So if you exit at Harrison, that's the route that you can go straight down Harrison to Wabash and then up Wabash to our T2HQ. If you go to the 27th mile post-race party, you can go down Monroe and then head down down State Street down to Congress. Congress and Wabash is where our celebration area will be. If you finish late, after 4:30 or so, we will have our health club open until I think 8 o'clock in the evening. So you can always head back there. We'll have some food and drink and recovery there as well. So just need to make a note of that. It's just further down State Street right before you hit Roosevelt. So again, keep in mind that you want to keep walking. You want to rehydrate when you finish, get your electrolytes, get some food in. Think about what you want to do. Do you want to go straight to T2HQ, or do you want to go to that 27th mile Butler Field area? Either way, get a massage. We'll have aligned and volunteers helping out, giving you guys massage and stretching. We'll have dry clothes. If you leave your dry clothes with us, so change into that. You want to get out of any wet layers and sweaty layers. Use those space blankets. Take some team photos. Thank your fundraisers, thank your donors, thank those who have supported you. But keep moving. A lot of people just kind of sit down, and that's a recipe for cramping up. So try to stay active. Elevate your legs is a good thing to do. Just putting your legs up for a couple minutes. So think about that after the race as you come back to T2HQ to celebrate. And then also what to do after the marathon. You have no plans probably, right? All your weekends are back. You don't know what to do with them. But having a good little plan for after the race is important too. You want to think about avoiding what we call delayed onset muscle soreness, the DOMS. So think about hydrating and eating smart for a couple days afterwards as your body recovers. Share your accomplishments, share photos, post photos, thank your donors. And then maybe think about, hey, what am I going to do next? Am I going to do this again the following year? Am I going to do something else in the off season? Those of you who've been training with us at FFC, you'll actually have access to our health club through the end of the month. So you can come back, maybe do some group fitness classes or a spin class to shake those legs out. And we'll also have some additional offers. We'll have a winter training program too, so keep your eyes peeled for that, and that'll start back up in November. So a little recovery tips too. You'll have your FFC memberships through October 31st. We have a new little perk this year. It's called our Air Relax Compression Boots. So if you want to come by, we'll have those at our Lincoln Park location. If you want to stop by and use those as part of your recovery strategy. We also have Coach Joy, who leads some great recovery workouts, both her usual Sunday Pilates mat class at FFC East Lakeview, but also a swim class on Thursday evenings at 6 o'clock. And this is not just for triathletes. If any runners want to come in and treat that as a little aqua jog recovery workout, you can stop by Thursdays at 6 o'clock at our Lincoln Park location, and Coach Joy will help you loosen those legs back up and get a nice little soak as well. But any group fitness classes are great. You can look at those on the website. Spin classes, yoga, Pilates. Also think about having a fun run or a recovery run. There's other events like the Monster Dash, October 21st. A few folks usually do that every year. The Hot Chocolate Race as well. And also at FFC, we'll have a challenge in November called Move to Win, which is something to motivate you guys to get moving again and to get back in a workout routine. So stay tuned for that. But generally just, avoid any type of high intensity. You do want to recover. You do want to keep hydrating for several days as your body goes through hydration a lot quicker as you recover. Foam rolling is important. I've got Jonathan Harris with me right now who's actually using a stick to recover for him. Do those little things to keep your body active and loosen up. And eat smart too. Reward yourself with some nice treats, but also just generally eat smart. Don't let all the weight you've lost in training come back on too quickly there. Right? All right, so final tips. Update the athlete list. Go to the expo early on Friday if you can. Bring your ID, bring your ticket. Try to stay off your feet on Saturday. Don't forget to maybe clip your toenails. That helps avoid those black toenails. Get to bed early all week if you can. Make dinner reservations for the night before if you're eating out with anybody from out of town. Make sure you have your breakfast plan dialed in. Think about race day. Visualize it from start to finish, pre and post race. Think about the layers and pack all that gear early. And then download the app too. There's also Facebook and text message auto alerts that you can sign up for to get your results posted. So take a look at the website for all those additional details too. That is pretty much it. So I'm going to do a quick thank you, obviously, for you guys for everything that you've done for the AIDS Foundation to help with all the fundraising. It's a truly incredible program. We love doing this as coaches. We love not just coaching you guys all day long, but being out there to celebrate with you guys on race day. So we really look forward to seeing and sharing in that experience with you guys. But from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for everything that you're doing, because this is more than just running a marathon. This is doing something for an amazing program and supporting hundreds of thousands of other people out there. So remind yourself about that on race day. All right, I'm going to wrap things up here. If anybody has questions, feel free to post them through the meeting here. And worst case, if we don't get your questions answered here, feel free to post on the Facebook group. That's a great forum. Our coaches will be looking at that all week to answer any last-minute questions. And you can also email us at endurance@fsc.com if you want to get a hold of any of the coaches for some last-minute coaching tips. All right. I think we're good. I don't see any questions just yet. So we will be on the Facebook group. So if you have anything, just look for us there. Otherwise, good luck, gang, and we'll see you out there.